Y'all already probably heard the unfortunate events leading up to the rift between first-time All-Stars Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert over his not taking the coronavirus seriously, proceeding to get infected, possibly infecting Donovan Mitchell, and putting the rest of the team at risk. But let's be fair, guys, we don't know who gave the virus to who. How do we know Mitchell didn't give the virus to Gobert? But obviously Gobert is the one getting all the vitriol because he was the one acting like an idiot. Hopefully the reports are true that Mitchell and the rest of the team have forgiven Gobert and moving past this. But, of course, things don't always work out the way you want them to. And if they can't move past this, we will likely see this dynamic duo broken up. Most likely, Gobert getting traded. So, in this video, I'll be discussing why it's Rudy Gobert and not Donovan Mitchell who's in trade rumors, a detailed analysis of the value Gobert brings to his team, and why as of today I believe that Gobert is more valuable than Donovan Mitchell. We'll also be discussing a realistic trade scenario for Gobert if they can't resolve their problems, and ultimately, what I believe the Utah Jazz should do. Also, just wanted to remind you guys, if you liked the video, subscribe and hit that like button to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. Would very much appreciate it. Now, there are a multitude of reasons why it's Rudy Gobert who is in trade rumors. Gobert is 28 years old with 1 year left on his deal, and according to ESPN's Bobby Marks, will be eligible to receive a 5-year supermax contract worth a whopping $247.3 million. That would make him 33 years old in the final year of his deal, and centers tend to decline faster after the age of 30. In addition to that, Gobert isn't someone who can create his own shot or spread the floor, and many think the NBA is moving away from big men like Gobert. It is possible that supermax contract will not age well. There's also a lot of talking heads out there who think Gobert raises the floor, but lowers the team's ceiling. I believe, if forced to choose between the two, the Utah Jazz will likely choose to keep Donovan Mitchell over Rudy Gobert because he is 4 years younger, and young players who possess high offensive potential, while at the same time being at the very least solid on the defensive end, are very difficult to replace. And for a Utah Jazz team that at times struggles to score, Donovan Mitchell is valuable because he is a closer who can create his own shot and put a ton of pressure on the opponent, which can be especially useful in broken possessions. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good your team is on defense, if you can't score, it doesn't matter how many stops you get. But Mitchell does have some holes in his game he needs to fix. He very oftentimes plays outside the rhythm of the game with poor shot selection and does need to do a better job of getting his teammates involved, which over time, I'm sure he will. He's got a lot of potential, and he very likely will become the more valuable player over the next 5 years as he enters his prime. But I'd like to point out that a rare player like Rudy Gobert, at least in the present, is more valuable. And here's why. Since becoming the starting center 5 years ago, he has led the Utah Jazz to the number 1 defense in the NBA, averaged out across those 5 seasons. Also, Utah's net rating swing, which in other words is points per 100 possessions, has been better with him on the floor in every one of his seasons. In addition to that, his career plus-minus per 100 possessions is plus 6.7, which is better than higher-profile, high-usage players like James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. Gobert also ranks 6th among active players in win shares for his career, ranking higher than the likes of all-time greats Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, obviously, I'm not saying Gobert is anywhere near as good as those guys, but it's still an interesting stat for people who dismiss Gobert's impact to look at. And even though the NBA is becoming positionless, Gobert switches more than most people think. He has switched 117 times onto guards in isolation in the past 2 seasons, with them scoring 0.75 points per chance, which is in the top 5 lowest figures among centers playing big minutes. And in terms of his defense on the inside, Few even compare. He routinely destroys people in the paint, not just with his shot blocking, but with the mere threat of swatting their shot. With Gobert on the floor, the opponent takes shots they don't want to take more often than against any other team. He has routinely cleaned up his teammates' defensive mistakes. Every time an opponent blows past one of his teammates, they get crushed by Gobert. According to Second Spectrum, when Jazz perimeter defenders get blown by with Gobert on the court behind them, they allow just 0.92 points per chance, which would rank among the NBA's 5 stingiest teams. Opponents are shooting a mere 39.7% on shots he contests per Second Spectrum, and he's contested more shots than any other player in the NBA. Those same opponents would be expected to shoot 47.1% on the same shot sample contested by an average defender. This gap trails only fellow Defensive Player of the Year candidate Anthony Davis, among over 200 high-volume defenders league-wide. I think it's safe to say that Rudy Gobert has used his high defensive IQ to take advantage of his 7'2" frame and insane 7'9" wingspan by earning back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year awards, earning 2 All-NBA spots, and 3 straight All-Defensive First Team honors, along with earning his first All-Star appearance this year. I see him continuing to stack up these awards, and I would not be shocked if he wins another Defensive Player of the Year award this year, though competition is tight with Giannis and Anthony Davis lurking to try to get that award for the first time. But Gobert definitely does have his offensive limitations. He can't score from anywhere beyond the paint. He can't shoot and spread the floor. He is very prone to getting his shot stolen by smaller defenders and needs to be assisted to score. Not being able to create your own shot is a big limitation in today's game. But this does not mean he doesn't contribute to their offense. Gobert is arguably the best screen setter in the NBA. He leads the league in screen assists now for his 3rd straight season. Also, he can be effective when other players do get him involved. Joe Ingles seems to get him the rock more than any other player on the Jazz. And when he shares the floor with Ingles, he scores 16.9 points on 9.2 field goal attempts compared to the 13.3 points on 7.1 field goal attempts when Ingles is off the floor. And he is very efficient in the paint with a near 70% field goal percentage. But nevertheless, if this is non-salvageable, the Jazz may have no choice but to make a move. And there have been a ton of trade rumors surrounding Gobert, but only one realistic trade scenario that I believe should at least get the attention of the Utah Jazz, and that would be from the Brooklyn Nets. A trade package surrounding Jared Allen, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Caris LeVert. Although this trade would change the identity of the Utah Jazz, it is still interesting. Although Jared Allen is not on the level of Gobert, he is still a capable defender who can block shots with the best of them. Caris LeVert gives them another forward to switch, depth, and help with the offense. And Dinwiddie is a borderline all-star player in the East who will give them a nice offensive punch. This trade also adds players that are more aligned with Donovan Mitchell's age going forward, which can make a lot of sense over the next 5 years, and this does certainly give the team a lot more depth and flexibility going forward. But this may give them some growing pains, at least in the short term, as the Jazz will have to change their identity, an identity that has been successful for them in the last few seasons. Quinn Snyder will have his work cut out for him. As for the Nets, it's a no-brainer as you create a dynamic big three of Durant, Kyrie, and Gobert. It would actually be incredibly interesting to see. If that team could remain healthy, they would make a ton of noise in the Eastern Conference. Well, that is of course unless Durant and Kyrie force Gobert to play power forward so that DeAndre Jordan could start at center. But look guys, I really do think it's riskier to trade Gobert than it is to keep him. As good as Donovan Mitchell is, he needs Gobert. The team's net rating plummets from a plus 11.4 to a minus 3.8 per 100 possessions when Mitchell plays without Gobert. while Utah's net rating is a plus 5.3 per 100 possessions when Gobert plays without Mitchell. Obviously, Gobert is an incredibly valuable player to this team, and I think they need each other. If they can work out their problems, the team should keep this core together. The Jazz do not have a history of signing superstar free agents, and no player in that Nets package, or any realistic trade package for that matter that they would receive for Gobert, will possess a star player, let alone a player dominant in any aspect of the game. Considering the league has lost enthusiasm for centers, as we've seen with guys like Andre Drummond and Clint Capella being traded for pennies on the dollar, the Utah Jazz might convince Rudy Gobert to take substantially less than a supermax contract next summer. I think there's a strong possibility that once Gobert realistically assesses what he will receive in the open market, he'd be content accepting a contract comparable to, let's say, the one Kevin Love received at 4 years and $120 million. Or, if you add a fifth year, then 5 years at $150. Look, it's still pricey, but the Utah Jazz will be getting him at $100 million less than what he would be eligible to make. And I think it's a risk they should take to save their identity, considering they are a borderline contending team. I believe the Utah Jazz should lean into their identity and get teams to adjust to them instead of the other way around. Plus, it's not set in stone that big men will die out in the future. After all, 3 of the top 10 players in the NBA are big men in Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, and Anthony Davis. And I think Rudy Gobert is a top 15 player in the NBA today. They should use what they got to their advantage and play their game. I think it would be a mistake for them to give up on their identity and break up this dynamic duo. And again, leave a like if you liked the video, and I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you agree with me that the Utah Jazz should keep Rudy Gobert? Or would you trade him if you were Utah's GM? If so, what do you think would be the best realistic trade scenario for him? Let me know in the comments section. Till next time, guys, I'm out.